Hello, everyone. I've got a question in from Ambipath, and Ambipath asks, where is the boundary between avoiding toxic people and helping them? If there's an aggressive intrusion from a toxic person, is it better to attempt to make them see the light or cease all interaction altogether? From one standpoint, I want to exercise the discrimination in the case where I get a strong reaction against somebody who is way on the wrong wavelength according to my perception and objective common sense as well. Engagement with them is generally unsafe. But from another angle, I feel compassion for them and I don't want to just turn away completely. However, in my experience, I haven't been able to do the middle ground. Either we have enough in common and we have mutual trust and respect, or I'm out. Thank you for sending this in. I think a lot of people can relate to this. A lot of people love friends, love family, want to connect with people that maybe are acquaintances or strangers at a deep level, but sometimes might feel that there just is some friction there. And do you push through the friction or do you just walk away? And so let's see what comes through today on this question. Well, I'll break it into parts. So the first part is, where is the boundary between avoiding toxic people and helping them? Well, the boundary is going to be different depending on the person and what's happened to them in the past and how much space they have in their life to take on what possibly could be very stressful for them. And there's not a right or wrong answer. So I'm a therapist and I see a lot of clients, and for me, it's not stressful, but for somebody else listening to what I hear might be extremely triggering, extremely stressful, and it wouldn't be sustainable for them to do that job. So everybody's designed differently. Some people can work as a banker on Wall Street and deal with the stress. Some people can be a vet and have the capacity to stay emotionally safe, even though they might have to put down an animal. Some people can fly a plane and not get anxious. And so it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you can do without getting so dysregulated that you can't take care of what you need to do in daily life. And so this is about common sense. It's also about knowing oneself deeply, and everybody's threshold is going to vary. And you should always check in with yourself because maybe you're going through a bad month or a bad year, and the people that you previously could hold space for that maybe were more difficult for you to be around, you might need to take a break from. Sometimes the heart space is so open and the stress has been dissolved, or there's a temporary ability to hold space for more people and more situations in your life, and you might be able to do it. But it's about getting ahead of it. It's not about just taking on too much to handle and then it's a breaking point and then crumbling. It's about being mindful, being in your body, noticing the early rumbling warning signs that could lead to a breakdown, that could lead to resentment, that could lead to you lashing out. Catch it early on and learn to maybe gently move away from situations without trampling on the other person's heart space. So rather than just sitting there and stewing and stewing and stewing and stewing and stewing and stewing and then just exploding and call them names or just getting dysregulated. If you feel that you're gonna stew or there's a want or irritation there to get out of the place or to say something, be gentle and kind. Make a polite excuse if you need to. Pause, meditate, do your exercise, eat some food, get an early night, and then you might be able to see clearly whether you want to rejoin that friendship again or spend more time with that person. I don't think we need to use the word toxic because that's stress inducing. Toxic people and toxic this and narcissistic that. It triggers the nervous system. I've got to get away from this toxic person. People change. You can interact with people that could be perceived as toxic and learn lessons about yourself, about why you're triggered around them, what they bring up in you, and what you personally need to do to not shut down completely your heart space. But I understand what is said about the middle path, because in the middle path, we're able to see clearly both sides. We're able to see that whatever that person is going through that is making the situation stressful can be used as a tool to see deeper inside our own wounding if it's triggering us. But also the middle path involves understanding our own threshold for it at that moment in time, and also not falling into a state of hatred or disgust or anger or shaming of that other person, because everybody we interact with performs the function of being a mirror. If there's something I don't like in you, then I can look deep within myself. Why is it I don't like that? Because nobody's perfect, everybody's changing, everybody is bumping into one another for a lot of different reasons. But no matter who we bump into and no matter what the experience is, whether we perceive it to be good or bad, ultimately underneath the concept of good or bad, helpful, unhelpful, nice, unwanted, fun, boring, irritating, calming, whatever we label the situation to be, underneath that, there is a lesson of non-judgment. There is a lesson of impermanence as well, because we are also going to get a little bit irritating to other people at times. There's going to be times when people might need to overlook our personality defaults. And the people that can stand by us and through that, we're very grateful for. So I think it's important for us to not throw everybody out and call them toxic, because we'll be thrown out and called toxic at some point. Because if you live life, there's going to be a little bit of dysregulation as you awaken and shift into more expanded states of awareness. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say the wrong thing. And so if you decide that you want to throw people away, don't call it throwing it away. Just call it self-care and moving away temporarily so that you can take care of yourself, but don't make it about the other person. Make it about you taking care of yourself, but never shutting down the heart space. We don't throw people away with anger. We don't throw people out of our life because we're irritated or judgmental or angry. We move away because we love ourselves and we need to take care of ourselves, our nervous system, and just calm the nervous system. And it doesn't have to be forever. Every relationship is eternal. We're all so interconnected. And so nobody really gets thrown into a toxic box and then that toxic box gets discarded because everybody's mirroring parts of yourself. You're connected to everyone. You can't throw them away even if you wanted to. So let's reframe toxic. Let's remove it from the vocabulary. Because if I see you as toxic, then there's something toxic within me. You can't see something in somebody else that you don't have within yourself, which can be interesting to really dive into. You don't need to help everybody because you mentioned helping them. You can help people by keeping your heart space open because there's a vibration at a very subtle level that occurs when you don't throw them out, call them toxic, but just understand I'm taking care of myself, but I love this person. Or I'm open to loving them once I remove some stress from my system. The whole vibration changes when we do that. We're less angry and triggered by the whole situation. We really want to cut the judgment. Judgment will stress you out. Judgment is not self-care. So notice any judgmental thoughts. They're not your friends. They're stress is releasing, but they're not your friends. And so whatever we judge in others, we have within ourselves. So, oh, I would never do that. Well, maybe right now, but maybe in the past you have, or in the future you could, or in a past life, if you believe in that, you might have done. So every single behavior that you perceive you dislike in another, you're capable of doing it yourself, or you've done it yourself, or you will do it. Every single emotion, every single thought, every single action is a possibility for every single human. So when we really absorb that, how can we judge? Because we're just judging parts of ourselves. So I'll just continue. If there is an aggressive intrusion from a toxic person, I don't know what has happened in the past to you, but when the nervous system is sensitized, or if the immune system gets sensitized, like it feels like it's getting attacked, it starts to go on overdrive. And so sometimes when we feel that we have to push people out, or we're afraid to go out of our house, or we perceive things as toxic, this is pointing to a trauma response, to a fight, flight, freeze, not fawn, but a fight, flight, freeze response where we have to protect ourselves. And I'm not saying it's wrong. It could be actually helpful to not interact or to move away from people in order for us to do the work to calm ourselves down so we don't get overwhelmed. But also, if we feel this anxiety about the world or people, or this is toxic and oh my God, people are coming to get me, or I need to cut them out. Notice that, oh, something must have happened to me in the past that I'm aware of or that I'm unaware of that really hurt me and that made me afraid and want to shut down or to hide. Hiding is a trauma response. Pushing people away is a trauma response. I'm not saying that it's going to be forever. Things will pass, but it can change, and then you might want to interact with more people. And we really want you to be, or for everyone to be, in a space where we're not frightened of people, even if people are dysregulated, even if they're screaming on the street or they've done something terrible. We don't see them as toxic or useless, or we need to go put them in the gas chamber or put them in prison. People can be rehabilitated through every single person changing the vibration of their inner world into a non-judgmental space, because people pick up on being judged by other people and it makes them behave worse. So if we really want to cut down on toxic people or criminals, then we have to stop judging them, because there's a lot of judgy in the collective. It just keeps the whole thing going. It just adds to stress. So is it better to attempt to make them see the light? Is it better to attempt to make them see the light? No. We don't need to give people advice or finger wag or tell them what they need to do unless they invite us in and ask for our opinion. And so if we feel the need to give unsolicited advice, if we feel the need to change other people, if we feel the need to do that, look inside. Why? Why, if this person doesn't change or if they continue to do those things, is that so triggering to me? It's like somebody might write, Aruna, you need to get rid of snakes and start, I don't know, having bunny rabbits as pets instead of snakes. What's wrong with you, Aruna? Why do you have a snake around your arm? You're weird. I haven't asked that person, hey, what pet do you think I should get? That person's just decided that they're trying to overstep a boundary and give advice because it makes them uncomfortable because they don't like the snake. But everybody has a right to live their life and make the decisions they want without criticism from others. And the middle path, the non-judgmental path, allows people, every single person, to live their design, their choices, their preferences without getting angry or upset about it. So any anger or upset around me having a snake or, somebody else doing something that the personality thinks they shouldn't be doing comes from inner wounding. Any of this stuff that we get angry about, we flip it, we look inwards. Why am I so upset? Why am I so triggered? It's not about the other person. It's not about the snake. It's always about what's going on inside of you. And it's all useful information because you discover where your blocks are, what stresses need to be removed. You just become aware of them. Oh, I'm triggered by the snake. I wonder why that is. And be curious. Oh, because I'm frightened of death, for example, and I'm afraid that they're going to bite me, or I heard something in the Bible about them being evil. And you can start to understand, well, there's this, and that's why I'm triggered. And also, don't just absorb it as truth. You can discover your own truth about the situation. So let's continue. So we don't need to make them see the light. We turn the desire to make that other person see the light. We're shining the light on them like, oh, I can see this is the matter with you, and that's the matter with you, and this needs to change. Instead of pointing it outwards, that light, we turn it, we flip it inwards. Why is this bothering me so much? We are in the relative world. The relative world contains individuals that will always be changeable, make mistakes, say the wrong thing, do strange things. That's the relative world. So if you get annoyed about it, you'll be annoyed your whole life and stressed and probably die of a heart attack if you don't sort it out. So that's never going to change. So, or cease interaction altogether. Well, you may want to stop interacting until you do the inner work of understanding why it's so upsetting to you. So, yes, you can cease the interaction altogether, not in an angry, upset way where you say or do bad things to the other person, but in a mindful, compassionate way. From one standpoint, I want to exercise the discrimination in the case where I get strong reaction against somebody who is way on the wrong wavelength according to my perception and objective common sense as well. Well, we live in a wonderful world where humans have personalities and different belief systems, exploring different paths, and we're not going to be on the same wavelength to everybody. But it's not a problem. It adds to the beauty. We have lost, actually, I've noticed in America living here, the ability to just debate. There used to be an ability to see multiple points of view and get excited about it and respect every single point of view. But with black and white thinking, due to wounding, it's now so triggering for somebody else to see things differently or to support a different political party or whatever it might be. Why is it? Why shouldn't people have different beliefs? Why shouldn't people have different religions? Why shouldn't people have different sexual preferences? We didn't embody to all be the same thing. Otherwise, why embody? We just be one thing. The consciousness gets split into billions of different little pieces that all have different experiences and get an amazing ability to think differently. And that happens at a certain level, but you have to move beyond. You have to move beyond that level of thinking and beliefs and differences. You have to transcend that into a still space and then come back into that space which has the differences. And then you don't get triggered by it anymore because the stillness is infused into the changing places and people and situations. And so that's the power of meditation, is it infuses stillness into the relative world, and so you don't get triggered by the relative world, and you have compassion for the changes of the personality of everything that happens in the relative world. And it's very hard to get yourself into a space where you are non-judgmental or you are calm in the relative world without having access to stillness and then infusing it back into the relative world, because then it's just going to be a mind-made frustrated space where you're like, I need to be non-judgmental, but I can't be non-judgmental. So I pray that people find a way to find stillness, and that stillness then infuses into the relative world so they're not so triggered by it. So you don't need people to think the same as you or to be on the same wavelength as you, because that's not going to happen. You might get a group, but even then, even within that group, there's going to be differences. So everybody's different, and isn't that wonderful? So celebrating differences rather than trying to make everybody the same will reduce your stress levels. Unsafe. Is engagement with them, you're saying it's unsafe. There's a sense of unsafety in the message. And so anything to calm your nervous system, and maybe you do need to set boundaries for a while, and you do need to kind of maybe be around certain people that you feel safe with. But once you've calmed your nervous system, once you've absorbed the stillness, once you've done the inner work, you might feel the courage to lift the boundaries and go back out. But that is only a decision that you can make following your own intuition. But yes, for now, then just take it easy and don't interact with people that are going to really make you dysregulated. But from another angle, I feel compassion for them. Wonderful! You feel compassion. This is so exciting because you, on the one hand, you have a part of yourself that's just releasing stress because of what's happened in the past, and it wants to keep you safe. And then on the other hand, you have your heart space that wants to connect, because the heart space, it doesn't care about people's beliefs. It doesn't care about what they've done in the past. It doesn't care that they're on a different wavelength. It just wants to connect. It just wants to love. And so there's these two forces moving around in your system, which is wonderful. You can observe, like, well, my heart space feels compassion, but my nervous system wants to keep me safe. I'm kind of swinging between the two. Let me take care of myself. And then hopefully you'll move into the heart space. However, in my experience, I haven't been able to do the middle ground. Well, maybe in the future you will. I pray that you will, and I'm hopeful that you will. And where there's a will, there's a way. And I promise you that if you want to follow the middle ground and you make a conscious decision that you're going to do that, it'll happen. So whatever you put your attention on, you can do. Either we have common ground and we have mutual trust or respect, or I'm out. Yeah, well, that's fine. You can get out. But also, when you get out, just like I said before, look deep within yourself and learn more about yourself by how triggered you get from other people, and take care of yourself. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting more rest or drinking more water and not maybe doing certain physical activities that are too strenuous, because sometimes when we're tired, we just get irritable. Also, if we have the chance to work through our wounding with a professional, that can be helpful. If we have the capacity to do that, it's divine work to be able to go inward and see what's happening at a deep level, because whatever we discover and whatever we heal for everybody else because we're so interconnected. And so for those people who have the privilege of doing those therapeutic modalities, great. You're doing wonderful work to heal the entire world. So thank you for writing in, and I hope that that can help you, even if it's just a little bit of help. I hope that it can. And take care.